5 yards in front of him, and he instead of throwing the ball, he's going to think, "What the fuck is he doing over there?" And it just creates confusion. Like, I swear, there's some like mad scientist stuff to Patton. Like sometimes when you watch his defensive schemes and the way they unfold after the snap, that I swear to God, that's some of his mind, his thought. What's the dumbest thing that somebody thinks I can do? Well, I'm going to do it, and he makes it work. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for Philly, and this is one thing that may, I think it kind of works in their favor, is we've faced some pretty exotic defenses thus far. I mean, week one, Washington plays the 3-4 just like Green Bay. I know it's not the same type of amoeba look and dropping the D tackle.
Well, hasn't even said we don't want a 3-4. We want a 3-3-5.
All right.
He did say that. They asked, do you run a 4-3 or a 3-4?
It was after week one.
He said neither. We run a 3-3-5 and other variations of sub packages.
That's fair, right? I mean, most defenses, do spend their time in sub packages nowadays. So there's that. Then you had Atlanta with Dan Quinn, who's known for defense, and then you just now had Matt Patricia, obviously former defensive coordinator for the Patriots. So, although it's been ugly thus far, I don't think the Packers are going to throw anything at Wentz that will just baffle him. I just think it's going to be a matter of executing and picking up those stunts, knowing inside.
He's very slippery for being a bigger quarterback, too.
Yeah, he is slippery, and I think he looks good coming off of that injury a couple of years ago, and it hasn't really seemed to slow him down. He's been running a bit more lately, and it's been making me hold my breath every time because he's still diving head first. But
do I need to get you an oxygen tank in 2 nights for here, so that way if you pass out from holding your breath?
At least a paper bag. At least a brown paper bag.
I got plenty of those, man. My wife makes kids lunches.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's still a little reckless, and I don't know, I love Josh McCown and all, but I don't really want to see too much of him this year.
Josh McCown is the Thanos of the NFL, just another jersey to collect for his infinity ring.
Him and Frank Gore. But, I mean, I'm looking, that's what gives me hope, right, is that Wentz should be able to make pre-snap reads and find the open guy. It's just, can the offensive line hold up long enough? Because like we talked about earlier with the run game, it's just not happening. You talked about the stretch zone scheme. The Eagles don't really do that. Like, I haven't seen them run too much of it out of single back formation this year. They do this it's kind of like a sweep play from the shotgun that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how athletic, your defensive line is. But, I mean, that's the closest thing to a stretch zone play that I've seen out of the Eagles this year, is this kind of sweep play they run out of shotgun. And I think
I can't believe I didn't think of it.
Yeah, what's up?
Jordan Howard has experience against the Pettin defense. I'm not saying it's a factor, but, I mean, think Jordan Howard has himself a night?
Nope. He does not have experience against the Mike Pettin defense. You're wrong again, sir. And it comes off a take that we
last year.
Dave, let me finish. I said it comes off a take we both agree and have had. Last year was not Mike Pettin defense. Last year was Mike McCarthy Pettin defense. Not close.
I'm just saying he may have seen some looks, and
I have not seen.
We've given up rushing attacks the past 2 weeks.
I have not seen one look this year that looks anything like last year's defense. Last year's defense looked like a traditional 3-4 with Mike Pettin pulling shit out of his ass to make it as close to his defense as he could with the handcuffs he had on it. This year, this defense looks. I've not seen anything close to what they lined up at any point last year. None.
Yeah, I don't think Jordan Howard blowing up. He kind of, as much of a boost as he was this last game because he trucked over some guys and had a touchdown, he still looks kind of plodding. He looks a little slow than he did last year. So I don't know. I think he's going to be useful. He's going to be a good hammer when they really need the short yardage. But I'm not going to make that my bold prediction or my hot take. I don't see Jordan Howard, even though he's going to get he'll likely get more carries than Sanders just because of the fumbles against the Lions that Sanders had, but I don't think it's going to be a big performance out of Jordan Howard.
Well, I mean, who's your person to watch on offense for the Eagles? I mean, with kind of the injuries and stuff going on, who is it that you think is going to have a night?
I was another perfect transition because I was going to ask how pass-catching running backs are doing against the Packers, because maybe it's a situation where we're really trying to get Darren Sproles fired up. Wow, what do you think about
the screen
game
and the swing game out of the backfield for the Packers has not boded well, because if it ain't Jair Alexander blowing it up, it's Darnell Savage coming from the way backfield like a freaking rocket, knocking them on their ass. That has not worked. Like I said, the one crack in this defense that I've seen be effective consistently is either that counter or power, like outside power game where you're going to pull a guard, and so in a sense,
zone power stretch,
yeah, you're still running a stretch, but you're just doing it in a different way. Instead of having the offensive line move in a stretch, you're just taking an offensive lineman and kicking him out, but you still essentially end up with that same style of. It's got to be that's the only thing I've seen, because that's what they were successful in week 1 with Montgomery. They got away from it, and then the whole rest of their game plan got shit on. In the last 2 weeks, that's what has absolutely gashed this Packers defense, and actually kept Aaron off the field and made it a little more difficult for him to, other than that, man, I know it's
I'll
only
take that
3
back.
weeks. What?
Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman did have some receiving, some plays that went for over, I believe, 20, 30, and 40 yards as a screen out in the flat for receiving backs, and that's what Darren Sproles is good at.
They had a couple, but again, when I was watching it, just off the top of my head, I think it was when there was quite a few sub players in. And they'd pop one of those off, and then they would sub back in their regulars, and So I think some of that, just off the top of my head, and I think in my notes, some of that shit too is just okay, they got one there, but if you look at the replay and who is on, it's okay, that's not a regular, that's not a regular. So I think when they have their regular personnels that they like in there, from what I can, definitely confirm, it has not been very successful. And there's always going to, there's exceptions to everything, Dave. I mean, yeah, you're going to have one here or there is going to get through, but it hasn't been consistent where you can run your offense and beat the Packers doing that.
Okay, gotcha. I was just bringing that up.
But you weren't wrong that they had a couple.
Yeah, other than Sproles, I still would look for Ertz to have probably the most productive night of the Eagles. I mean, he's already seen 30 targets through 3 weeks. So, I mean, Wentz is looking his way often. And I know I said earlier that I'm impressed by Darnell Savage, but the guy's still a rookie, right? So, I mean, Ertz is going to get the best of him here and there. And
he's a free safety, so he will and
you're going to have Adrian Amos.
I was just going to say, the way they've been lining up, he's been a lot of times, he's been the single high safety, i.e. that old God dang it, Earl Thomas type. And so you are definitely going to have bracket coverage between a linebacker and Amos, which is completely different because Amos does have that veteran ability. And he's not the best. Even that matchup, yes, Dillon, he's going to win it because Amos, there's a reason he's a good, strong safety. If he was a better coverage guy, he'd play free safety. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's still going to – he's not going to have no game here. Ertz is still going to have some catches and make some plays.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming just because of the way I think the Packers play, I don't see Alexander shadowing Aguilar when Aguilar goes in the slot. Would I be correct on that?
I expect Jair to go after Elshon. He's never been afraid of the bigger guy.
Yeah, so I think Aguilar will see a couple opportunities to shake loose on, whoever covers the slot for Green Bay.
I honestly, when I watch this, I don't think that's how they play defense. I think they play defense and they take away different guys based on what they're trying to do defensively. I think the way they play defense is what's the package for the offense coming out? Okay, this is their package. This is how we counteract our package here. And in this particular package, this play that I want to choose to attack their package, this player does this. And so I think that's part of the off balance of why it's hard to, because again, he's got some mad scientists. Like, each play can be a different guy. Like, Jair can be on this guy this play, and the next play he wants to attack at the slot, so he's got Jair locked on this one because he needs Jair to lock down this particular receiver so that this slot receiver or this slot cornerback or this safety that's on that side can blitz. You know what I mean? Like, there's a method to all of his madness, but it's always kind of changing from play to play, and it all depends on what the personnel package and what he thinks that offense is putting out there for each individual play. And he's got a counter, so to speak, and an idea of what he wants to do against that personnel and package.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, those are the three main guys. I mean, if they lock down Aguilar, Ertz, and Sproles, I can't see anyone else emerging at this point. I know I sound like a bummer and I sound like a real Eagles pessimist, but I'm just being real. I mean, we got a banged up Bears team right now. I don't expect Alshon to have a big impact, and it's just all of the Packers' strengths match up really well with what the Eagles try to do on offense.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still with y'all being 1-2. I got to ask a question first. Do you believe this Packers game is a pivotal swing game in the Eagles' schedule?
I only think so because it's momentum. Like, I do think the Eagles, after the Packers game, they've got a long week to recover before taking on the Jets at home, and I think it's a very winnable game. But then there are three tough road games. You've got, I'm not sure if it's in this particular order, but you've got Vikings, Cowboys, and Bills all on the road in a row. So, yeah, I mean, you could be looking at 3 and 6, over the next stretch. And, I mean, with the way the Cowboys are playing, I don't think you can win the division at 10 and 6. So I would say this is a pretty pivotal game, not just for momentum's sake, but for the sake of the division, for the sake of the playoff.
Well, what brings me to my next question then? Do you think we see Peterson start to pull out the stuff that is saved for, hey, let's go out and win it because we need this one? The Philly special, the fake punts, the fake field goals.
I don't know, man. I've been waiting for more creative stuff since last year. I mean, since Mike Groh took over and since Frank Reich left. I mean, it seems like, and I don't know how much John DeFilippo played a part of it too, but it really seems like this offense is a little less creative. The plays are a lot longer developing, and Carson's taking a lot more hits in this offense under Mike Groh. I mean, when you look at Jacoby Brissett and what they're doing in Indianapolis, Jacoby Brissett's thrown multiple touchdowns each week, and it seems like they're really on a roll as far as rhythm and those sort of things go. I mean, yeah, it helps having a healthy TY and that sort of thing, and their offensive line, healthy too. But I just think it's night and day between the play calling and the way you saw the Eagles move the ball in 2017 in the Super Bowl run and what you're seeing now. I mean, it's just a lot of stalling out and just like I said, the run game.
Plays though, being that this game is basically needed for the Eagles?
No, I don't. I could see maybe a flea flicker, but it's just not. It doesn't seem to be in the cards. I mean, yeah, the Philly special was awesome, and it doesn't seem to be a part of Doug's normal routine. To like Matt Nagy is all about that. Matt Nagy wants to do all this exotic shit and try to have everyone go, "Hey, look at this guy. He's a whiz kid." But